Good morning, I'm Kristen Folletti and welcome to News Desk on SiliconANGLE TV for Friday, August 2nd, 2013. Law enforcement officials in the U.S. are turning to the use of tools commonly deployed by computer hackers in order to gather intelligence on suspects. Join us now to share more on these information gathering techniques is SiliconANGLE contributing editor John Casaretto. Good morning, John. Good to see you.
Good morning.
So, John, describe to us what kind of hacking techniques the FBI has been employing and how they've been used.
Well, they've been using these hacking tools, it seems now, under court orders for a little bit of time here, and they've been doing this as a response to a number of things. But agents have been trying to keep up with these suspects that are out there, and they're using new types of communications out there, including all this online chat, emails and stuff like that as crime inevitably intertwines with technology. They're using things like encryption and firewalls, and obviously protecting their computers like anybody who uses a computer should. But this is something that they've been working on, again, under court order in specialized cases where it seems like they need to get to some kind of digital asset. So being that this is something that's relatively recent and a response to these behaviors where criminals are becoming more sophisticated about their use. They're now launching these basic hacker attacks against these targets using spyware. It's delivered to computers through the phones or an email, web links, this kind of thing. All these different techniques that are that they're using to employ to get to all these digital information.
So, when you say recently, about how long has this type of technique been taking place?
Well, that part of it isn't exactly clear how long exactly that's been going on, but it seems that at least since 2005, so pretty close to a decade, they've been using some type of bugs that can do these types of things. They've been using tools that can trace a person, and trace their emails and things like that for a little bit shorter than that since 2007. So it's been out there for a little bit, and it's an industry that's growing, and I think that it will continue to grow.
Why are these techniques necessary? Explain to us how they're different from traditional tactics like wiretapping.
Well, it's an expansion of the toolbox that law enforcement has now, um, and it seems that it's a response to what they call going dark, where the target is using these communications, and they can't be tapped like wiretapped like a phone. So basically, they're using this new communications technology. They're using, again, encryption. They're using all these tactics, as anti-spyware and things like that. People are starting to learn how to hide things, how to put things in different places, and portable hard drives, and all these different aspects and tools like that to try to protect, hide what they're doing. And they're using these techniques to that the FBI is using these techniques now to try to crack these little pockets of information that these people have hiding out there.
Now, is the FBI purchasing these hacking tools or are they actually developing them themselves?
Well, here's the interesting thing. They are developing some hacking tools on their own internally. They definitely hire people in the technology space. There's many police departments. Some are better funded than others that have kind of been doing this for a number of years as well. Um, so the FBI specifically has been hacking. Creating some of these tools internally, but they also purchase from the private sector. There's a whole industry that's been out there for, it appears, some time to do this kind of thing, to do digital forensics, to analyze things, sometimes on the fly. Some pretty impressive devices that are out there that are just specially built for decrypting things, or grabbing information off of a system, mirroring something, plugging right into a system, and just kind of grabbing all the information that it can. And it's something that I think that you would expect this type of approach altogether because, some tools have to be specialized to their needs, and then sometimes there's some things that can be modified to meet what they need.
With this technology, the FBI can perform tasks such as remotely activating the microphones in phones running Android software to record conversations, and it can do the same to microphones in laptops without the user being aware. So, have any companies or Google themselves commented or indicated knowledge of the FBI's capability to perform these tasks?
No, Google thus far has declined to comment, and I haven't heard anything from any other companies. There hasn't been any comment that has come out thus far, and you would kind of expect that. These things are very specific cases, and I don't think that there are widespread vulnerabilities that are out there that really kind of merit comment at this point. Typically, again, these appear to be activities where they've basically created a team of hackers to attack a specific target. So, what kind of tricks and tips are going to be uncovered in those cases? Well, they're going to exploit commonly known things. They're going to exploit the kind of situation where you might give up your password, or they might be able to capture that. Using spyware, using some type of technique to get you to, or phishing to get you to give that up, and that's the kind of thing that they're doing. So, for it's not really a place where Google or any of these companies are going to comment, unless there was a widespread vulnerability, which it appears, with this Android thing that, there could be. But then again, they're probably hijacking and doing things like that, things that are probably fairly well known in the security community.
Well, it's just that these techniques sound very similar to the tactics that we've been hearing about being used by the NSA. So, are these tactics related at all to the PRISM or the XKeyscore programs?
Well, yeah, it kind of sounds like that on the surface, but Prism and the XKeyscore are very different. They're about analyzing everyone, all this information that they collect, and getting some type of analysis off of that. The bureau is using hacking in these cases, and the cases are like organized crime, child pornography, counterterrorism, and they use these tools specifically when they're investigating these types of groups. But when they're investigating hackers, of course, it's one of the things that they fear is that they'll be discovered and then publicize these techniques. There's obviously some proprietary or private techniques and so on. So they haven't really been using it in those kinds of like hacker cases and stuff. But yeah, this is something that is somewhat different. Again, it's very targeted, and I think that's the key thing.
Civil liberties advocates are pushing for there to be clear legal guidelines in order to ensure that these hacking tools aren't misused. Do you think that clear legal guidelines are a realistic approach to this scenario, or is there too much gray area here?
Well, the FBI has been hiring people who have these hacking skills. Obviously purchase tools, and they're developing these things themselves. Basically what they've been doing is they're building what's called a red team. A red team is a penetration testing team. A lot of companies will hire companies like these ethical hackers to crack their own little environments to see if how secure they are, and validate some things, validate their system. In this case, they have targets, and it appears that in the anecdotes that we've seen, that they've gotten warrants, that it's all been blessed by the courts, and in specific cases. And yeah, the fact of the matter is that for the FBI, there is a lot out there to investigate. Anything from financial criminals to, like I said, child pornography to all these different things. But there's really not a lot of reason for them to spy or hack individuals without any cause. The private citizen that isn't doing anything. Yet at the same time, we see this scaling of the federal workforce. We see a whole lot of government programs growing exponentially, and a lot of things that are going on like this. So there's a lot of concern. I mean, just look at how the IRS is planning to grow under Obamacare, and all the things that have happened there in the last few months. It has a lot to do. A lot of people are very suspicious for good reason. And when they look at the scope of what's being investigated, who is being watched by these government agencies, a lot of people are really kind of tuned to what's going on. You give an inch, they take a mile, and I think that's a big concern. So privacy advocates, people like the Electronic Frontier Foundation, just people that have security concerns, they're going to have an eye on this kind of thing and will for some time to come, and make sure that it doesn't really aberrate from the type of scenario where people have this is happening under the guidelines of things that are legal and go through a process where we have a warrant, and your rights are protected.
Well, John, thank you so much for sharing that information with us this morning, and thank you for sharing your comments with us as well.
Thank you.
And coming up here on News Desk, Amazon gets into the pinning business. But next, John Casaretto rejoins us to discuss the newly announced Moto X.